Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to make my favourite minion, Stuart. He's mischievous and adorable, and I think he makes a pretty awesome cake. This is a fondant cake, but it's a nice 2D shape. It's easy to follow and it's great for beginners and advanced cakers alike. We all love Minions around here. Sid is in Minion mode, hanging out to see the movie, so I couldn't pass up a chance to make a Minion cake for you guys. Now to make this cute little guy, I have baked a 9 by 13 inch sheet cake. I've used 1.5 batches or just a touch more of our vanilla cupcake recipe. I've also made some of our sweet buttercream. Again, the recipe link is below for you. And I've got some fondant in my colours. I'm going to be mapping all of those out in the description box below so that you can follow along and you know exactly what colours I used to make these Minion shades. I have also got myself a rectangular board to place our finished cake onto. I have a large cake plate that I'm going to be using to help me cut out the shape of our Minion. And to make the Minion shape a little bit easier to create, I also have a 9-inch round cake plate that I'm going to use to help me to sculpt the base and the top of our Minion. Lastly, I have the usual tools of a turntable, a bread knife, spatula, scraper, scissors, and a pen or pencil to mark out our outline. So first things first, I want to go ahead and layer our cake and start to trim it up. So the first thing I'm going to do is just level and trim up the top a little bit, working my way around. Now this cake is about 45 almost millimeters, so I'm going to come ahead at about a 22 mark and just create a bit of a cut in the corners and then right in the center. And then we're going to pick a section and just start to join the dots together. And then working on one of the shorter edges, I'm just going to start slicing through. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and apply some frosting to this, taking some of our sweet buttercream and just spreading it around in a nice even layer. Don't worry about the corners though, because you know that you're going to be trimming those off. You just want to get the rest of it nice and flat and with a good amount of frosting to eat. Okay, and then taking our top section and just flipping it back over. Now if your cake is really soft, you want to go ahead and pop it into the fridge at this stage for about 10 minutes. Mine is fairly firm because this recipe is not a sponge cake, so it's not super fluffy, it's more moist. So I can go ahead and start carving out the shape straight away. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking a 9-inch round cake plate and I'm going to use this to help me gain some little bit of curve in the bottom and the top of our Minion. And just take my bread knife and trim it away. And now for the top of the Minion, I'm going to start by doing the same thing. Trim it down to this cake plate. And then take a look, and I think we want to make it even more curved. So all I'm going to do is place my cake plate in a little bit, where it's very close to the top here, but it leaves a little bit of a gap. And that'll just make the top a little bit more severe. I'm just getting rid of some of the crumbs of the cake. I'm going to take my large cake plate, carefully pick up the cake, and then flip the entire thing over. Peel that off. We can clean up our mess and maybe eat some too. I love vanilla cake with vanilla frosting. And then I'm just going to draw out the template onto our cake plate. Slide that off and then cut out the shape. And then add a little bit of buttercream to our template plate and gently place your cake on top. And then I like to come along and just trim it up a little bit more. And now I'm going to pop this into the fridge for about 15 minutes just so it sets up enough to do our crumb coat. Now a crumb coat is all about locking in the crumbs and nothing to do with what it looks like. So just make sure that you're getting a good thin coat over the entire cake. And then scrape it back as much as you can And then bring it over the top of the cake and do the top of the cake as a crumb coat as well. So now we're going to apply our final coat of buttercream. You don't want to put too much on at this stage because the more that you put on, the spongier that your fondant's going to be. So we want it to be a fairly light coat still, but we want to make sure that we don't see any cake. Taking a scraper, I'm just going to scrape it back till it's nice and flush with the cake board, and then move on to the top of the cake. Okay, just go around and smooth it out a little bit. Go around the sides once more. And if you're doing this with buttercream with me, you want to make sure that you've already tinted your fondant and got it ready to go. If you're doing it with ganache, what I suggest is to let the ganache set up for about 6 hours, and then right before you apply your fondant, you want to put a light coating of either a jam syrup or a sugar syrup. And you can check out some of our other tutorials to see how I do that. And I'm just going to give our fondant a really light knead. I've already kneaded it when I was adding the colour in, but I just want to do it one more time so that it's nice and supple. I always knead one way, get it in towards the centre, flip it around, and then go the other way. Once all the lines are out of here, you'll know that you've kneaded it enough. I'm going to pop down some corn flour, and taking a large rolling pin, we're just going to roll it out to the size we need. Okay, and then we basically want to roll it out until it's about 4 or 5 millimeters, or about 1/8 of an inch. Blunt the edge, just to make it nice and easy to roll over our rolling pin. And then I'm going to take our cake, place it down long ways, lift up so that I don't crush that edge, and roll all the way over. I give a little roll on top just to make sure that there's no air trapped. Go all the way around, securing the edge, and then slowly make your way down. Now this is a really short cake, so it's super easy to cover. If you're new to fondant, this is a great starting cake. Okay, once it's all secured, you want to take a pizza cutter, just trim some off, and then using a cake smoother, you're just going to rub down the top just to, again, get rid of any air pockets if there is any, and just push a tiny bit of fondant over to the edge. Then I'm going to come along and just secure the fondant at the base of the cake, just so that we know exactly where to cut. And then we're going to come along with our pizza cutter again and trim it up nice and close. Run it off to the edge, turn your cake. Now I'm going to quickly secure the cake to its board, and then we can do our final smoothing. And then just place it down. You want to make sure that it's fairly close to the top because you want to leave room for his little feet and legs. Okay, now I'm going to come along with just a piece of acetate, and I'm also going to use one of our smoothers, and I'm going to push the sides and push this up. Okay, so now that we've got him done, I'm just going to give it a light buff on top just to make sure it's still nice and flat. And the first thing that I want to do for decorations before it dries is I want to make a little crease where the mouth is. Now for these, the mouth is basically just above the halfway point. I'm going to go ahead and make a mouth right there. The first decoration I want to get started on are the overalls. Now that we know where the mouth is, it's a lot easier to gauge where to stop our overalls, but we want to start with a big section of fondant and then we can trim it up to size. So again, popping down some corn flour. Now you can go a touch thinner with this fondant than we did for the yellow because it's just a decorative piece. So now I'm going to pick up my piece and drape it over and just make sure it goes all the way over the sides. You want it to come up fairly high and just curve around. lifting up to see where the mouth is, and I can see that I can just trim off this section here, and that will help to reveal the mouth. Being really careful to only cut the blue. Once you're happy with where it is, you can trim off a lot of the excess. Now I'm just going to gently pick up my fondant, apply a bit of water just to adhere the two pieces together. Okay, coming back again and trimming up with the pizza cutter and then smoothing it down. Okay, so now I'm going to mark out just a straight line with my X-Acto, go a little bit straighter. Now we want to make sure it goes a little bit wider than his mouth, so I'm just going to come in by about 2 inches and start by going down by about 2 inches. Okay, now we're going to come all the way across straight and down, down and through. Switching to a smaller rolling pin, we're going to go ahead and roll out some more blue fondant and get ready to make these accents. The first thing I'm making are the straps for the overalls. So I'm using a multi-ribbon cutter, but you can also use a pizza cutter if you don't have one. And we just want to make them just under 1 inch wide. Trim them up. And now we want to measure it up for size, placing it just over our little front pinafore section and then draping down. Press it in. You can also give a little press with a fondant smoother, cut it up to size and attach it with a little bit of glue or water, sugar glue or water. Next I'm going to make a little pocket for the front. Cut a square just to get an idea of size and then trim off the corners. And again apply with some water. The last blue detail is to add some little stumpy legs. So I'm just going to roll them in my hands. And then taking some black, I'm going to make one foot look like it's coming out the front. Just pulling it a little bit. And one look like it's going out sideways. I'm going to roll out some little buttons using black fondant and a very small cookie cutter. And place those on Minion and attach with water. Okay, now we're going to work on his arms. So I want one to come down there, and I want his arm section to be just a little bit longer than the overalls. Press to attach that. And the other arm I'm going to roll a little bit longer because I want his hand to come up towards his overalls. Attach in a couple of places. Now for his hand, I'm just going to roll a ball, curve it a little bit, and then I'm going to cut 2 little markings into it and press it up. And then for the other hand, I'm just going to make a bit of a circular disc or an oblong kind of disc that's a bit flat. Make the marks, and you can slice all the way through. Trim it off and attach it. And I'm going to take this time to personalize it a little bit and put a cute number 3 on the pocket. I also want to come along with a boning tool and just make an impression where the side pockets are and add some little creases. And then placing some little stitching holes around the details. You can use a bamboo skewer, a toothpick, whatever you have handy. or in the buttons. Now I want to make a little tongue that pokes out. Take a boning tool and just make a little center in it, and then trim it to size. Roll out some grey, but keep it fairly thick. So take your large cutter and then take 2 sizes down. And take some white. This time you can roll it out a little bit thinner because we want the eye to be inside the goggles, not as high. We're going to cut the same size, and then we're going to come along with our pizza cutter and just trim off the top and the bottom. Then I'm going to cut out some chocolate brown, followed by some black, and lastly the tiniest bit of white. Now once you're happy with them, you can add the glue. Remove our grey. The only thing that we're not going to add glue to is our grey, because first we want to put on our black strips and cover the seam with our grey. Taking our multi-ribbon cutter and just making it a little bit wider. Now we pick up our silver and attach that on. And last, I'm going to roll some little black hairs and then line up the hair. We're just going to do 2 rows. And there you have it, guys. We have Stuart, the adorable Minion. I absolutely love him. He's so cute. I hope you enjoyed watching this.